What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Did y'all see that? What?
Let's just throw Scream 6 in there for like
It
my
was good.
favorite movie. It was really good. The best of the franchise, in my opinion, since the first one.
Yeah. What's up, everyone? The Crazy Ants are back to bring you the latest news in the entertainment industry. This week, we'll be talking about a variety of different topics, like, of course, the Oscar nominations that came out this past week, Netflix with its price hikes again, and then the IMDb Pro and regular IMDb's creator and CEO of 35 years is leaving his position.
Yes.
All that and more on this week's episode of Inside the Crazy Ant Farm. How are you feeling about this week's industry news, Dustin?
Oh, you know, man, I love Oscars. It's my favorite time of year. We're going to play for our golden Funko this year again, as always, so I'm pumped about that. IMDb, it's going to be fun to talk about IMDb in a sense where we're not just doing the top trenders, but you're going to learn a little bit about the company. And like you hear us talk about it all the time, but now you're gonna know everything about it. It's gonna be cool. I'm kind of pumped, man, and there's some good stuff going on at Disney. And Netflix. I don't understand. We're gonna break it down for y'all, but like biggest year ever in added subscribers. Why you have to raise the prices? Like that doesn't make any sense. But we're gonna talk about that too. I don't get the reasoning behind that. It seems like you should just stay chill. You add and subscribe. But yeah, man, I'm pumped. I know you are too.
Very excited. I'm very excited. There's so many different topics I'm super excited to jump into. So let's get into it. Hello, everyone. So you want to start a podcast but have no idea where to start? Well, Crazy Ant Media is here to help you. We want to assist you finding your VFE. What's VFE, you ask? Well, that is your voice, your format, and your equipment. These are the three biggest essentials you need to start your podcast. All those hours watching nonstop YouTube videos or all those random website links, those are done. Just hop on a Zoom call with us and we'll talk about everything you need to know to create your own podcast and find your voice. Plus, we will send you home with a 12-page packet over everything we just discussed. It's very in-depth. It is definitely a must-need while trying to start your first podcast. Contact us at info@crazyantmedia.com today so that you can start finding your podcast voice for tomorrow. What's up, everybody? Episode 282 of ITCAFpodcast, aka Inside the Crazy Ant Farm. And you guys know your host with your most, myself, J. Logan Austin, and the one and only Dustin, aka The Mouth.
What's up?
Man, oh man, they also call me J-Lo Fantastic if you're nasty. But man, we're super excited about this week's episode because Oscar nominations and everything we teased above, and it's going to be a whole lot of fun. Ryan Gosling possibly going into a galaxy far, far away. Man, I'm super pumped about this week's episode. It's going to be great. And then, of course, before we jump into everything, please leave a comment below on this podcast or like, subscribe, share, anything you can do to help out this podcast get seen by more people who enjoy entertainment news, but especially those who are trying to break into the entertainment industry. Us here at Crazy Ant Media are all about lending the helping hands of the up-and-comers, and that's what we're trying to do here with this podcast. So please be sure to like, share, subscribe, all the good things, man. And then, of course, be sure to head over to our website, www.crazyantmedia.com, where you can start rocking the latest and greatest Crazy Ant Media gear. Got a little bit of something for a little bit of everyone. And then, of course, you can find out everything about us, Crazy Ant Media, a film and television production company striving to create bold and new content out there for everyone. Oh my goodness. So we're super freaking pumped. And of course, we're going to start off with the Academy Awards. As we teased the beginning of this week's industry news, the 2025 Oscar nominations did come out. There were honestly no real surprises, although there were some big snubs, we feel like anyway, because, you know, we watch a lot of films. We try to see as many Oscar-generated buzzy films around the entertainment industry, and Challengers. They got
Yeah.
nominated for some Golden Globes, and so did Zendaya. That was absolutely snubbed. Emilia Perez, which is actually leading the Oscar race this year with 13 nominations for Netflix. So that's going to be very interesting. We're going to get into all that. And I mean, they did freaking also nominate like The Brutalist, Wicked, that's no surprise, which is tied with 10 nominations apiece. And then, of course, Warner Brothers Discovery's Timothy Chalamet's The Complete Unknown, and Conclave, followed by 8 nominations each. So we're going to dive into everything, give our thoughts and opinions at the very end. But man, oh man, we're super excited about it.
Yes, and unlike the Oscars, we're not going to make you wait for the best picture. We're going to tell you right off the top. As you guys know, unlike all the other categories, this is double. There's 10 nominees for best picture instead of 5 like the rest. So let's dive into those. Starting with Anora, The Brutalist, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Emilia Perez, I'm Still Here, Nickel Boys, The Substance, and Wicked. That is a kick-ass category. Good luck.
It's going to be very interesting, that is for sure. And with the best film, you're going to have some best directors.
Yes.
So the nominees for the best directing category go to Jacques Andriard for Emilia Perez, Sean Baker for Anora, Bradley Corbett for The Brutalist, Corley Forget for The Substance, and James Mangold, of course, for A Complete Unknown.
We're going to talk about it, but as you can see, guys, only one woman in the category.
Yeah.
It's still a problem. Still a problem. Actor in a leading role, you've got Adrian Brody in The Brutalist, Timothy Chalamet for A Complete Unknown, Coleman Domingo for Sing Sing, Ralph Fiennes for Conclave, and Sebastian Stan for The Apprentice. That is a tough category right there, man.
Very tough. I'm sure Sebastian was surprised about that nomination. That is for sure. But well deserved, well deserved. Now, actress in a leading role. The nominees are Cynthia Erivo for Wicked, Carla Sofia Gasson for Emilia Perez, Mickey Madison for Anora, Demi Moore for The Substance, and Fernanda Torres for I'm Still Here.
Yes. I have a theory about this with Wicked, too. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Actor in a supporting role, we've got Yura Borisov for Anora, Kieran Culkin for A Real Pain, Edward Norton, A Complete Unknown, Guy Pearce, The Brutalist, and Jeremy Strong for The Apprentice. Funny, they didn't recognize the movie, but both actors. So that's interesting, right? Like,
very much so, man. Very much so. And then the nominees for the actress in the best supporting role. We have Monica Barbero for A Complete Unknown, Ariana Grande for Wicked, Felicity Jones for The Brutalist, Isabel Rossellini for Conclave, and then Zoe Saldana for Emilia Perez.
yes, and then we've got Best Adapted Screenplay, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Emilia Perez, Nickel Boys, and Sing Sing.
So many good ones, man. I'm so excited to start my watch list this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Now, for the best original screenplay category, the nominees are Anora, The Brutalist, A Real Pain, September 5th, and The Substance.
Ooh, yes. Gonna be an interesting one. Animated feature film. You've got Flow, Inside Out 2, Memoir of a Snail, Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul, and The Wild Robot.
It's going to be very interesting. And the next category is honestly turning out to be one of my favorite categories to dive into every time it comes around to a Oscar season.
Definitely.
And I'm talking about animated short film. The nominees are Beautiful Men, In the Shadow of the Cypress, Magic Candies, Wander to Wonder, and Yuck.
Yuck, what? No, come on. Cinematography, real no surprise here. I mean, this usually matches for Best Picture, so we're going to dive into this one. You've got The Brutalist, Dune Part 2, Emilia Perez, Maria, now that's the one in there. Now, wait, what? And Nosferatu.
The only one Nosferatu was nominated for, and which makes sense. It's beautiful cinematography. That was like one of the first things I texted you after seeing it.
Yeah.
So very, very cool, very cool. And yeah, we're talking about Maria too and Angelina Jolie. But the next category is costume design. The nominees are A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Gladiator 2, Nosferatu, two of them,
Yeah.
two nominations, and Wicked for costume design.
Yes. And then we're going to dive on over to film editing, which you've got Honora, The Brutalist, Conclave, Amelia Perez, and Wicked. Makes sense.
Very good. It does make sense, man. It really does. And just like this next one, makeup and hairstyling. The nominees are A Different Man, Amelia Perez, Nosferatu. It's three. Damn, I really must have just lost count. Okay, I was not paying attention. I'm glad Nosferatu got more than the one I gave them credit for. Anyway, the rest of the category is The Substance and Wicked.
That's going to be a tough one. I'm just going to call that right there. That is going to be a tough one. Live action short film. Aline, Anjua, I'm Not a Robot, The Last Ranger, and The Man Who Could Not Remain Silent.
Definitely not you. That's true.
No, that's definitely not me. That might be about me. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Maybe somebody was following me around. I didn't even know it. What the hell? Let's go.
Let's go. Where's my check? Okay, where's my check? All right. The next category, we have music, the original score. We have The Brutalist, Conclave, Amelia Perez, Wicked, and The Wild Robot.
And then, of course, you've got original song. And for the first time ever, you guys, the nominees for original song will not be performing them live during the ceremony. Yeah.
Kind of wild. Wild.
It's crazy, but that's always one of the top things about it is the 5 songs. And no, not this year. But anyway, the nominees who won't be performing are El Mai from Amelia Perez, The Journey from the 6888, Like a Bird from Sing Sing, Mi Camino from Amelia Perez, and Never Too Late from Elton John, Never Too Late.
There, and I saw a list too. There is a lot of people who are one win, especially Oscar wins, away from their EGOT.
Yeah.
Oh man, so it's going to be very interesting. Cynthia Erivo is definitely one of them, so we'll see what happens there. Our next category is documentary feature film. The nominees are Black Box Diaries, No Other Land, Porcelain War, soundtrack to Coupe Edit, and then Sugarcane.
Yes. Documentary short film, Death by Numbers, I Am Ready, Warden, Incident, Instruments of a Beating Heart, and The Only Girl in the Orchestra.
The documentary categories are also sleepers when it comes to enjoyable ones that we have to go back and watch. I always love that category. And I honestly... go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, and sometimes determines our golden Funko.
Yeah, sometimes.
That's the one that we always we either hit or miss with that bad boy. Like sometimes, I don't know.
It's so funny. Did we just do? You just did short film?
Yep.
Fantastic. So the next category is international feature film. We have I'm Still Here, Brazil, The Girl with the Needle, Denmark, Amelia Perez, France, The Seed of the Sacred Fig, Germany, and then Flow, Lativa.
Interesting. I have a theory about this one too. Production design, which we all know, critical and never gets enough credit, but it's critical to films. The Brutalist, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Nosferatu, and Wicked.
I really feel like Dune isn't going to get like a big Oscar until the final one. It's going to be Lord of the Rings because the first one also got nominated at the Oscars. But yeah, it's going to be very freaking interesting.
I think that's what's going to hurt Wicked also. But yeah, we'll see.
Agreed. Now the sound category, the nominees are A Complete Unknown, Dune Part 2, Amelia Perez, Wicked, and The Wild Robot.
Yes. And finally, visual effects. This category makes total sense because all of these visual effects. Alien Romulus, Better Man, Dune Part 2, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and Wicked. So there's 2 in there that are like ape because Better Man And I don't know why that guy is an ape in this movie, because it's based on a true story and he's not an ape. But,
and he's not an ape.
And I don't know why he's an ape in this movie. Somebody clarify that for me. But yeah, the whole time I'm like, when I heard it was based on a true story, I'm like, there's a monkey man somewhere? Like, what the fuck is going on?
Exactly.
No. And
that's so funny. I feel like the biggest snub, though, is John M. Chu not getting nominated for Best Director, and a lot of the Wicked stuff getting nominated. I've seen huge social media outcry from this, and I mean, it makes sense. We've always said, if your film gets nominated for Best Picture, how do you not get nominated for Best Director?
Yeah, no, totally agree. And especially, even more so, it's one thing if your film gets it for Best Picture because you're the guy. But then if your actors both get nominated, you're fucking directing the actor. There's like, it makes no sense to me, not taking away from their performances, but the director is guiding those performances and pulling the whole vision of the film together. So how do you get Best Picture, Best Actress, Best Supporting Actress, and not give him a nomination for Best Director? It makes absolutely no sense at all whatsoever. The other one that everybody was talking about was Zendaya missing out, especially after the Golden Globes. But unlike the Golden Globes, the Oscars are very set in their way. And what really hurt Zendaya and challengers is it came out in the spring. Out of sight, out of mind. Most of the time, if you'll notice, almost every film that ever gets nominated for an Oscar comes out during the holiday season at the end of the year because it's fresh in the mind. That was a problem they should have done a re-release. In past, you'll notice a lot of films do those re-releases to get back in the sight of the Oscar voters come Oscar time. I think that was a mistake by the studio. They really should have thought about that, because Zendaya is definitely worthy of a nomination, I think, for that film. So, yeah, I don't know. And I have a theory about Arrivo and Grande, because they're equals in this film.
They are.
They are. They're boom boom, right? But they could have put both of them as lead actress, but then one of them would have to lose. I think that the studio intentionally said, let's do one the other, and have a shot at both of them winning. It's a great idea. Here's the problem for Ariana Grande, though. I think this is Zoe Saldana's year to bring home the gold. I think she's going to get it for Amelia Perez. I feel if there was one that I would bet on, legit put down money, it's Zoe Saldana bringing it home for Amelia Perez, which unfortunately will go against Ariana Grande bringing home, for both statues for Wicked, for lead and supporting. I could be wrong, but I feel like it's a pretty solid bet for Zoe. That's my theory on that. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I think a lot of Wicked stuff is not going to win, to be honest with you, and that's just because, like you said, and like we said earlier, that there is another one coming, and I do think that they're going to capitalize on that, especially potentially next year, of course. But yeah, I don't know, man. And then the other big one was Angelina Jolie. Basically, Angelina Jolie came out of hiding and came back to acting and is doing like this whole big press run, got nominated for a Golden Globe, but was completely snubbed at the Oscars. And I don't know, because I haven't seen the film yet, so I'll probably make more of a understanding statement about this later on Instagram or on Twitter. But I definitely feel like they probably didn't pay attention to her film enough because she's been so out of the limelight for so many years. That's my opinion.
Probably. And another one that I was really surprised by, I'm just going to be honest about it, and I kind of feel bad for Jesse Eisenberg, is, I mean, he's nominated as a writer because of the screenplay, right? And Kieran Culkin got nominated for acting. But A Real Pain, in my opinion, Jesse Eisenberg probably deserved a nomination for Best Director. And this should have probably, in my opinion, instead of Dune Part 2, A Real Pain should have been in the category for Best Picture. It's that good, y'all. Kieran Culkin is like unbelievable in this film. And so is Jesse Eisenberg, not just with the writing and the directing, but his acting as well. They played off of each other really well. This is a really powerful story. And my opinion, I think it probably deserved to be in those 10 nominees for Best Picture over Dune Part 2. Just saying it. Just
I
saying it.
definitely think it should have been, but I don't know which one you would take out. That's for sure.
Dune Part
Without
2.
seeing, I
That's the
like
one
Dune
I'd
Part
take.
Two.
I don't
Yeah,
dislike it,
I
but
liked it.
out of all of them, I just think that's the one I would have taken out. But
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting award season, though. Of course, we have the SAG-AFTRA Awards coming up February 5th, so we're going to keep on top of that, and that's a big one going into the Oscar race. So we're very excited about it, and we're very excited to dive into all of these movies finally. There's always rumblings about whether or not films are going to be Oscar nominated or not, but when they finally come out and we can make the list, be like, okay, we've seen this one, don't need to watch it again, or we can be like, okay, let's watch all these new films and trying to get caught up. So, because we do, like you said, we do the ballot and we try to do the competition. So we want to make sure we get as many right as possible. We
oh,
get
without
our
doubt.
information from so many sources. It's so fun.
Without
Oh,
doubt.
man.
So are
But
we diving
now,
into Disney? Yeah.
yeah, we're diving into Disney from a galaxy far, far away because a huge A-list star is in talks to aboard the Millennium Falcon for another Star Wars franchise. And we're talking about Ryan Gosling. Oh my goodness, Ken himself is in talks to star in the film from Sean Levy. The film is said to be a standalone project that isn't connected to the Star Wars saga at all, which concluded the Star Wars saga in 2019's Rise of Skywalker, of course. Now, other plot details are encased in kryptonite and are basically unable to be seen for the foreseeable future. But the only thing that worries me about this is that Star Wars in the past 5 to 10 years has been really bad about being very like basically we announce something, okay, we're not moving forward with that. We announce something, okay, we're not moving forward with that. So that's the only thing. And I also think Ryan Gosling in a Star Wars film could either make or break the Star Wars franchise just because he's such a pop A-list star. That's my opinion.
I trust Sean Levy though because he's the guy that can handle the big, huge pop culture like
He can.
stars, right? He's proven that with Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, and so if there is the right director to do Gosling in a Star Wars film, it would be Sean Levy. Speaking of making huge announcements and then disappearing. Remember when Daisy Ridley was going to continue the Skywalker saga? You just said it was ending the Skywalker saga all those years ago, right? Well, speaking of the Skywalker saga, apparently there's some movement with Daisy again. Her Star Wars movie is still alive. Lucasfilm has apparently hired George Nolfi from The Bourne Ultimatum and Ocean's 12 to write the script for the long gestating follow-up to 2019's Rise of Skywalker. 2019, guys. It's been 6 years since that thing went out. That's crazy. It is still set to be the feature directorial debut also for Charmin Obaid Chinoy. That's the only details that we have so far that were recently released is that they've brought on a new writer. But at least there's movement. Because, I mean, this thing was announced pretty much right after the Rise of Skywalker and then just fell off the face of the planet. So it's basically 6 years with no news. But here we go. So
Yeah,
we'll see.
because it was really like a year or two after that. They'd be like, I was done. No, I'm coming back. And then, yeah, now this, like, so some movement is better than no
Oh, yeah,
movement, but
yeah.
I think they're doing the right thing and trying to develop their stories into what can put that franchise back near the top of the franchise blockbusterness that it used to be. Because right now they're critically hated and a lot of fans just do not like them either. So hopefully, fingers crossed, with either of those two projects, we can make something happen.
We'll
That's
see.
for sure. Yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see. Well, Disney is trying to make something happen with Dan Fogelman and Sterling K. Brown. They might have worked in a little television show
You
called
know.
This Is Us. They're throwing their full weight of its portfolio of platforms behind Sterling K. Brown and Dan Fogelman's new Hulu series, paradise by giving the political thriller a linear launch on ABC and FX as well. So it seems like they really entrust these guys that they can bring in an established audience from what they've done before with their work in the past. And I definitely think so because Sterling K. Brown, I feel like, is very bankable as a television star right now. I don't think he's made it to that bankability as a blockbuster star yet, but when it comes to television, people want to see them every week.
Oh, no doubt about it. And I'm just wondering. And look, all the trailers for this look incredible. You guys, if you've missed it, he's like a Secret Service agent who I guess either witnessed the death of the president or people think is responsible for the death of the president. In the one trailer, they've got some lady telling him to say he killed the president. So we don't know what's kind of going on there, but it does look good. And I'm wondering if this was a move from Disney echoing what they're seeing with somewhat success with Paramount, where they're taking some of their shows that are on Paramount Plus and airing them on CBS. And I'm wondering if they're like, okay, well, we've got 3 platforms here. Even though it's a Hulu series, why not put it on the main network, ABC and FX, and see if it can see success on all 3? So, I mean, it's worked for Paramount and CBS, so maybe it'll work for Disney too. I'm pretty sure it will. This next one, bouncing over to Fox, which we don't normally get a lot of Fox news, but this one is exciting because we've both jumped on this and we both love it. Doc, it's our new medical drama because we needed one. But Doc, in case you didn't know, stars Molly Parker as a medical chief whose memory is partially lost in a devastating accident. Now, that thing has grown its audience to 15.6 million viewers across platforms in the first 11 days since it premiered on January 7th. Now, that's according to the latest Nielsen viewing figures. Now, that premiere would rank it as Fox's most watched debut telecast across all platforms in 5 years. Yep, the most since 911 Lone Star premiered all the way back in 2020. So it's a hit. I mean, and it's a good one. It's a good drama. There are only 3 episodes in, y'all, by the time we're recording this. So if you haven't jumped on it yet, go. It's a good
please
show.
Be sure to do so because it is a great show. There's, like you said, only 3 episodes out right now, and I've cried every single episode.
Oh, it's
so freaking good. The family connectability, trying to redeem yourself, the arc of just trying to become a better person. It's definitely worth the watch. And then our buddy Patrick J. Walker, who is a previous guest on ITCAFpodcast, is also in that, an amazing role. So be sure to check that out. You'll definitely fall in love with this cast and television show.
Oh yeah, Molly Parker. I just want to give a huge shout out before we move on because she is phenomenal. The way she transitions from like hardcore bitch to lovable victim that is just trying to be a good person, the back and forth and how she turns it on and off, just incredible. I mean, this woman is killing it. Like, I'll be shocked if she doesn't get an Emmy nomination at some point down the line because she's slaying, man. She's so good.
For sure. Well, we're heading over to Warner Brothers Discovery, and James Gunn, co-CEO of course, DC Studios, celebrated the beginnings of filming Supergirl. And he, of course, shared on his Twitter pages and Instagram and all the good places. He's very good about giving you a little peek behind the curtain, that's for sure. A photo of Millie Alcock as Cora Zor-El. As
sort of.
Supergirl. Oh,
sort of. If you saw the picture... It's only the back of her head, and she's sitting in the director's chair on the set. So you don't really see her as Kara Zor-El.
No, I really feel like they were just trying to show you the S, and it's the same exact S they're using for Superman. So, I mean, it really wasn't anything, but James Gunn is different in the sense of he does share a lot of peeks behind the curtain.
He does.
I wish Kevin Feige would do more of that because that would get so many more people pumped about it. But at the same time, I feel like, again, they're trying to put so much effort and put everybody behind Superman, Supergirl, all of these DC properties to make sure they're successful because they need it to be successful. Who knows what's going to happen to DC and Warner Brothers, in fact, if these films are not successful?
Yeah, I mean, I think everything is banking on Superman. Without doubt. And what happens because they're already shooting Supergirl? Supergirl is actually going to debut in Superman, and if Superman bombs, then that's not going to be a good sign for Supergirl because so we'll see. Yeah. Speaking of We'll see. Do people still want this franchise or not? David Leitch is apparently in early talks to direct Ocean's 14. Yeah, the Caper franchise, of course, from Warner Brothers that will mark the first one, and this is crazy, not directed by Steven Soderbergh. Now, the intention is to bring the original cast back into the fold. Leitch is coming off, of course, the Ryan Gosling, Emily Blunt star Fall Guy, which was a bomb. Shouldn't have been. It was fucking phenomenal and huge hit, and it's killing it on Peacock. But at the box office, it was a bomb. So I don't know if this was a smart move by Warner Brothers or not. I mean, we're gonna say
it's kind of sketchy because with it being a bomb, and if this one is also a bomb, like that's not going to help him moving forward. Like he's not going to be considered a director that these big studios can go to and be successful because they are looking at the bottom line and the profitability. And if you're a director that has more fails than wins, it's not going to be good.
Well, and it's unfortunate because he's a former stunt guy that moved his way into directing and then directed a film about stunt guys that should have been a huge hit. I blame the studio, though. That was a full-on fail on marketing. When you have Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling based on a IP that was massively popular, it should have been a huge hit. They didn't market it properly. They didn't time it properly. It came out against some other stuff that was still booming at the box office. It was just a disaster from the studio from start to finish. Okay, let's jump on over to the Eye. We mentioned them just a couple minutes ago. Do you want me to do this one since you are a big fan of the next one?
Go for it, man.
Okay.
Go for it.
All right. Because I know you want to jump on the next story. This one, though, guys, is a serious plot twist that may fuck with my 2025 predictions, and I'm not happy about that. But it's a plot twist nobody saw coming. Now, as Skydance Media and Redbird Capital Partners are working really hard to close the Larry Ellison-backed takeover of Paramount Global this spring, guess what? A consortium of investors who previously bid on the media conglomerate is now mounting an 11th hour $13.5 billion offer. Now, sources have confirmed that a legal letter was indeed sent to Paramount's board on Friday, January 24th, from Project Rise Partners that outlines a new bid that is higher than the all-cash offer the consortium made during the Go Shop window. Now, the group says its terms are vastly superior to the $8 billion deal from Skydance and Redbird. Now, why is this a potential problem for Ellison and Skydance? Because if you're not familiar with laws and corporate laws, a publicly traded corporation is legally bound to consider any legitimate offer of value that could benefit the shareholders. And apparently Paramount didn't give consideration to this company when they offered the other one. In turn, kind of violating corporate laws, which is probably why they're coming after him again. So the Project Rise investors fired off this legal letter back in last October, claiming that Paramount's special committee violated the fiduciary duty to the shareholders by not even considering the group's previous $8.5 billion bid for the company. So Project Rise Partners' $13.5 billion that they're making now, it also includes, and this is important, a $5 billion for restructuring of debt. So this could be potential trouble for Ellison and Skydance. It's going to come down to the shareholders. Do they feel comfortable with the direction that Ellison wants to take it? Or are they concerned about the money? Because this is financially a better deal for the shareholders. They're going to walk away better off with this deal than with the Skydance deal. But it's going to come down to, do they feel long-term Ellison and Skydance can do better than this? Who knows? We're going to keep an eye on this one, guys, because this could potentially be huge. Like, keep in mind, neither of these companies have the government hasn't approved either one of these mergers if they were to happen. So it might not happen anyway. So we'll just keep an eye on all that, man. So crazy.
Well, that's the biggest thing. Yeah, it is so crazy because, the past couple months, it's probably been like 4 or 5 months since they announced the sale or the potential sale, I should say. So now, like, the two have been intermingling. They've been discussing plans, what to do next. What's the landscape going to look like when Ellison and Skydance come over and basically take over? So that will be very interesting because they already have like a layout of what could happen or a layout of what potentially could happen again with a better financial bundle. So it's going to be, I don't know, man. I don't know. I would still really like to see Skydance, that's for sure. But I mean, all options are on the table. This industry is built off of money. So no wonder. I mean, of course they're going to evaluate all of their options and see what's best for their financial shareholders.
$5 billion more is a lot of money. For the shareholders to go, that's $5 billion more. I don't know, man.
It does have a B, not an M. So I mean, that's a lot of money, man. That's a lot of money.
We'll see.
And I'm wondering how much money Dexter Resurrection shelled out to get Uma Thurman on this upcoming revisitation of the franchise. She's going to be coming on as a series regular, and Thurman is going to be playing Charlie. She's going to be the head of security for a mysterious billionaire, Leon Prater. A former special ops officer, Charlie worked in various high-level private security jobs before taking her position as a resourceful and malicious right-hand woman to Prater. It's going to be very freaking fun, man. I know a lot of people are excited for Dexter Resurrection to come back. I definitely am, and I know it's been on my most anticipated television show for 2025, and I'm getting caught up on New Blood. Got like 3 or 4 episodes left. So yeah, I'm all into this because Uma Thurman fits right into that Dexter world.
Without doubt.
I feel like she's a phenomenal character actor type of person. So very pumped, man. Very freaking pumped.
She plays odd / quirky / creepy really well.
Really well.
Really well. Pretty much all of her characters. So yeah, I think she's a perfect fit for this universe. It works for me. Speaking of working, Dick Wolf, man, this guy's just the recent success of On Call on Prime. He ain't stopping, though. You know he's got franchises on every damn network. Well, apparently another FBI spinoff is in the works at CBS. FBI CIA, as the prospective offshoot will be titled, is a dedicated, straight-laced FBI agent and a street-smart CIA agent apparently joined forces as part of a new clandestine task force charged with solving and preventing domestic terrorism in and around New York City. Now, casting is apparently already underway for the 3 series regular roles for the spinoff, which will air its pilot as a backdoor pilot on a springtime episode of the regular FBI mothership. So, I mean, these tend to work really well. Everything spins off the motherships, and the FBI franchise is really popular. So I'm betting this is getting picked up, and it'll be on the air. So, more FBI.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see where they're navigating throughout all of the Dick Wolf universe. And FBI, CIA, I remember I saw a lot of people on X just hammering this name because it's kind of goofy. It's very double entendre. And I'm betting within the first season, a healthcare CEO is going to get shot by some domestic terrorist, and it's just going to be a whole freaking thing. I'm betting money on it, man. I'm really betting money on it.
It seems like a smart bet. It seems like a smart bet.
I'm just saying.
Ripped from the headlines.
Now we're going to head over. Yeah, exactly. Now we're going to head over to NBC Universal, where Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey keeps adding amazing cast members. Thank you so much, John Papsadera. That is our guy, previous guest on the show, 2-time guest. So be sure to check out his interviews and when he talks about casting. But he just recently added John Bernthal to the cast, which is absolutely crazy. So he joins the already A-list star cast, which includes Matt Damon, Tom Holland, Anne Hathaway, Zendaya, Robert Pattinson, Lupita Nyong'o, and Charlize Theron. It is unknown who Bernthal is going to be playing in The Odyssey, but we're expecting for it to start shooting next month. And there was also some reports that came out that said Tom Holland is the leading man for
Yeah.
this film.
Yeah.
So it's
Which,
going to be very freaking interesting. And I said this on X and I got a little backlash for it, but I feel like this will definitely put Tom Holland in a different lane if this film is very successful and people find his acting very appealing, I should say, because a lot of his other films that he did independently from Spider-Man have not done very well. They're always, talked about, but not as much as these other films. But you have an amazing director, Oscar-winning director, Christopher Nolan, backing you. So I'm really hoping this takes him to a whole new level when it comes to dramatic acting.
well, and he's done stage work before and been successful at stage work over in London. Just people don't realize. And this is a very Shakespearean, huge Odyssey. That's what the Odyssey is. So, and plus, he's surrounded by his super friends. Are you guys keeping track? So you've got Spidey, right? But you've also got Catwoman, Anne Hathaway. You've got MJ, Zendaya. You've got Batman, Robert Pattinson. This guy, it's going to be fine. It's going to be, the super friends are assembling, both DC Marvel crossover. This thing's going to be badass epic. That's all I'm saying. And
Super
throw
excited.
in some Star Wars. You got Lupita Nyong'o and come on. This thing's
Yeah,
going to...
Charlize was in the Doctor Strange movie,
Yes, that's
continuing possibly
right.
further on down the
Yes.
line.
Maybe Pap Sedair knows what he's doing.
Just a
saying.
little bit. Just a little bit.
There's a reason why he wins awards for casting. He's the best at it. All right.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. Speaking of uber super excited, I just they dropped the new trailer on the day that we're filming this episode right now, and just holy shit, a new poster, a new trailer, every time I see something new from this, I get more and more excited. I'm of course talking about Suits LA. What? Oh my, this thing is going to be huge, y'all. And they've apparently added 3 more new guest stars. Patton Oswalt, Brian Baumgartner, and Enrico Colantoni. Now, they're all set to appear in the first season of the NBC show. All 3 are set to play a version of themselves. That's awesome, because remember, we talked about it a couple weeks ago. John Amos is in the pilot episode, sadly passed away, but he was playing himself also. That's because this firm, one of the main parts of this firm is their entertainment division, and they represent Hollywood elite. And that's why I'm super excited about this, because I think this is going to become like Batman was in the 60s, where all the huge stars were clamoring to guest star on it. I think celebrities are going to, and I guess this generation's entourage, celebrities are going to want to be on this show and guest stars playing themselves. And I think it's going to be huge for the show. Now, they, of course, as we already told you, Maggie Grace, Matt Leshner, Sophia Pernis, and Carson A. Egan are also set to be guest stars. And, of course, Gabriel Macht as the one and only Harvey Specter. Not just a guest star, though. He's going to be in a multi-episode arc. So, yeah. Spectre's returning, because, and I like how they're kind of laying that out, that they work together and that they're friends, and apparently the other one thinks the other one was more cocky than they were. That's going to be a really good dynamic. I can see the two of them playing off of each other really, really well. This thing's going to be huge. It's going to be huge.
I'm very excited about it, that is for sure. And I'm very excited to see Stephen Amell in this type of role, because we've seen him in a lot of roles where his characters don't necessarily have the biggest confidence. So to put him in this role where this character is cocky, confident, the best at what he does, the best lawyer in the entertainment industry or in the world or the country. I forget how he said it in the promo, but yeah, it's going to be freaking amazing, especially when you get that back and forth between Gabriel Macht and him. So it's going to be awesome. Yeah, I'm super freaking pumped about it, man.
The question is, does he have a mic?
That's the thing.
I may or may not know the answer of that based on the pilot, but I'm not telling you.
Or a can opener. Does he have a can opener?
That would imply he has a Donna, so we'll see. I mean,
for sure. Well, we are heading over to Amazon MGM Studios. If you did not know, the owners of IMDb, but this is a big one because IMDb has been the Bible over the last 35 years. It was created in 1990 by Cole Needham, and he is actually about to step down as CEO after 35 years. I believe it was 93, 96, something like that, where they were sold, 98, where
98, yeah.
IMDb was sold to Amazon.com, which was crazy because, in relative terms, both of them weren't necessarily on top of their game, or at least where they are now. So, I mean, they definitely both benefited from it. But yes, he is stepping down, and the transition, the new executive is going to be taking his place is Nikki Santoro, who arrived as IMDb's chief operating officer in 2021. She has been appointed as the new incoming CEO,
Yep.
becoming only the second chief executive in the site's 35-year history. Now, in his role, Needham he did provide strategic guidance, obviously consulting all of these different things, but he's coming back and he's going to help that transition being a little bit better. So it's not like a Disney situation with Iger and Chapek.
Oh yeah, he's
So
staying on. Yeah.
yeah, he's staying on. He's going to provide strategic guidance, consult on key initiatives, and serve as a global ambassador for IMDb. And he will continue to be based in the IMDb office in Bristol, England. But yeah, man, I mean, this is the Bible for the entertainment industry. If
Oh,
you're an actor, creative, a below the line person, behind the scenes, anything in the entertainment industry, you're on IMDb. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what new comes out of IMDb after he leaves, because he's been the man. He's been IMDb God for 35 years. What's going to
well,
be new? What do you think is going to be new?
well, the crazy thing is a lot of people don't even realize that, because I'm sure they're going, wait, why is he in England? He's a Brit.
He's a Brit. Yep.
It started in the UK. It wasn't even an American company, y'all. In fact, it wasn't even a company. It first launched as a Usenet group called rec.arts.movies. And it basically was a list that he made of actresses that he thought had beautiful eyes.
Yeah.
He posted this, and then another guy responded to it, adding to, oh, well, I think these people kind of thing. And then they started going back and forth. Well, here's my list of actors that I think this. And then Cole said, well, here's my list of movies that I've seen so far in my life. And the other guys were like, well, here's a list of my movies. And so then it started becoming a series of lists. And that's how it started. Then they realized this might be something, so why don't we compile all these lists together and start something, which is when in 93, 3 years after the Girls with Pretty Eyes, they launched it full on and included television, and now it became sort of a database at that point, which is insane. But like you said, in 98, Amazon bought this thing for $55 million because they were moving into selling movies and TV shows and DVDs and shit. They wanted to support that, which is crazy. And then it just blew up. Like you said, in 2008, it acquired Box Office Mojo, which used to be the go-to source for weekend box office results. Now that's part of IMDb, which you guys know we get all of our stuff from there. I didn't know this. It wasn't until 2010 that they launched the mobile apps for it. Like,
That is crazy, yeah.
yeah, I didn't even know that. And so yeah, and not even until just a couple years ago, 4 years ago, they started including podcasts. So it very slowly kind of like boom, boom, boom. And like you said, it's referred to as the industry Bible, right? And it's like, come on.
Exactly. I mean, it's huge, man. It's widely regarded as the industry Bible, like you said, as the most comprehensive and authoritative database for film, television, and streaming content. It does serve as an essential resource for professionals across all sectors of the entertainment industry, film, television, music, anything like that. If you just do video games, voice acting, it's all there. And yeah, I mean, to think about where the entertainment industry would be without IMDb, it would all be headshots. It would all be going through
Oh,
agents and headshots. And we use IMDb heavily, obviously, to get all of our industry news for this podcast, but we also use it to reach out to guests and go through managers, agents, publicists. You can find all of that information on there for a low price of $20 a month.
yeah,
Or
yeah.
if you have like a group of people, that you have a team trying to get something established in the entertainment industry. It's like $80 a month.
Yeah.
So that's really not horrible. Like 5 people for $80. Like split that down the middle. But yeah, I just thought this was a very interesting tidbit because IMDb is what it is because of him.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen after? That's the big thing. I'm curious to see if anything will and how quick it will.
Well,
That's the big thing.
think about it. This guy revolutionized how the industry is viewed. Like, it's not just fans that go to this thing. Like, studios actually use this to verify you. And God, we stress this all the time, but if you are serious about working in this industry, you need to have a page because they go there and look. And if you are not on IMDb, and I'm not talking about a blank, like no photo, like if you are not on IMDb with a photo with credits, you don't exist. That's just like legit. So the way this guy turned a list of actresses with pretty eyes into revolutionizing the industry of how everybody, it's just incredible. Congratulations to him. And yeah, it's going to be a real, like you said, just, I don't even know where it goes, how it goes. Is it, I mean, but it's incredible. To think it was around since before you were born. I was 20. Yeah. I was a 20-year-old kid just cracking myself into the industry at that point. It's just mind-boggling to me, man.
Absolutely wild. But the next and final thing of the industry news that is wild is Netflix, which saw its biggest year ever and adding record-breaking 18.91 million subscribers just last year, and they have now reached 301.63 million subscribers globally, all the way around the world. They just announced that they're going to raise their prices again. Now, the standard plan without ads is going to be raised by $2.50 from $15.49 to the new price of $17.99. And then also the ad-supported tier is up $1 from $7.99 to, of course, now the $8.99. And then the biggie, the baddie, the premium tier is up $2 at $24.99. This is absolutely wild because I posted about this on TikTok, my Instagram page. Find me there. But they've done this over the past 7 years. They've raised it like 5 or 6 times. It's absolutely bonkers, man. Like, I get it. Like, you have a lot going on. You keep trying to make your content better. But I think all of this is just getting funneled into a live entertainment sector because, like we've seen this past year, they're doing more live events and they need more money. They need more bandwidth, man. So we're paying for Netflix's bandwidth. But that's for sure.
Aren't they making enough, though? Aren't they like, I don't know if y'all can see that, but I took 301 million subscribers. If all of them decided to go with the cheapest ad-supported tier of $7.99 a month, they're making $2,404,990,000 a month off subscriptions. If all of them had the ad-supported one. Now, some of them have $15.49 a month, or $25 a month. If it was just the $8 a month, they're clearing $2 billion a month off subscribers. Why are you continuing to raise prices, you greedy motherfuckers? I'm just saying, I love Netflix, but come on, man. That's a lot of money. That is a lot of money. Think about that, man. Shit.
I know. It's rough. It hurts. It really hurts when you see that number and you think about monthly. Like, it's absolutely bonkers. That is for sure. That is the end of our industry news segment. Man, oh man, a lot of crazy things happening. Actually, I just thought of one more that we can touch on briefly. The Michael Jackson film, the third act, has to completely get scrapped because of a legal issue that it had to deal with when Michael was getting accused of the sexual assault against kids. So that's crazy. I mean, that's a very anticipated film, and it could potentially get either a better ending or a worse ending because of this legal suit. So that's going to be crazy.
I feel like a worse ending because like it or not, that was a very authentic part of his life. It happened.
Yeah.
You can't pretend it didn't happen. I don't know
Exactly.
where the lawsuit's coming from. Maybe it's from the victims and or alleged victims, and they don't want to be a part of it. They don't want the victims to have to relive all that era. But it happened.
It did.
The whole downfall of his entire career and him going into hiding is because of that shit. So, like, I don't understand how you just ignore that in the third act, but
Is what it
We'll
is, man.
see.
It is what it is. Well, now we are on to our top 5 segment, man. And you guys know we are Disney adults. We are Disney men. That is for sure.
Yes.
And of course, Dustin loves celebrating the success of Michael Eisner that he had way back in the day. And that is what we're talking about this week, the Renaissance era of Disney films. Man, oh man. Top 5 Disney Renaissance age films for Disney. And it's honestly bonkers the amount of beautiful music that comes out of these films, the freaking slate that they had in this time span. It's really amazing, and I really wish we could get back to what they had in the Renaissance era.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
This era was critical, though. This was the resurgence of Disney's animation, which was failing at this point. But there was some contention there. Eisner is responsible for putting people into place to do this, but said person that he put in place wanted all the credit and it did not go well. We'll talk about it after we do our top 5, because there are 2 animated feature films nominated for Oscars this year, the Wallace and Gromit one and the Wild Robot, that would not exist if not for the Renaissance era of Disney, and I'll explain that after we do these. But it's interesting.
That's for sure. Let's dive into the top 5 then, and then my number 5 goes to Hercules. Well, this one is kind of very wishy-washy with a lot of people. You either like it or you don't. But I love it. I love the story of Hercules. I love Greek gods, and so that was always very freaking fun to watch. And it has an awesome, badass soundtrack, so that always gets you going. But yeah, I think the animation was honestly phenomenal, and Hercules is supposed to be like this bigger than life Greek god, like I said. So it was also very inspiring to see as a young lad coming up and watching this film. So yeah, number 5 for me, Hercules.
There you go. My number 5, same thing. You either really loved it or you just weren't a fan of it. Thankfully, the majority of the people really loved it. The Hunchback of Notre Dame. I think when this was first announced, they're like, how the hell are you going to do The Hunchback of Notre Dame as an animated kids film? Like, what?
It's dark as shit.
It's dark as shit, and Quasimodo is terrifying, and it's like, it's not a really family-friendly story, and yet they did it. And people loved Quasimodo. People were carrying around toy Quasimodos. Like, he was like the coolest thing, which was mind-boggling to me. But again, they turned it into a really solid love story, and really gave it some heart. Phenomenal soundtrack, which all of these Renaissance films, that it was mandatory. It was like part of the success of these films was the soundtracks and what they were able to do with them, and bringing in legends like Elton John and Phil Collins and like all these people that were doing these soundtracks. But yeah, my number 5, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. I loved it. I couldn't get enough of it when I was young. Like, I loved it.
Yeah, borderline not a kid's movie, but yes, a very good movie. Yeah.
It definitely one of those that's a kid's movie that had a lot of adult things in it if you were an adult watching it. Went over the kids' heads, but the adults got it all. Like, they knew. Like, they knew what was going on.
And that's the thing, too. You can't really watch it as a kid and understand everything that's going on. You have to go back and watch it as an adult to really get a grasp on what it is. Number 4 for me goes to Aladdin. I mean, come on. Robin Williams as the genie. I think one of his most iconic roles, obviously. I mean, remember when they redid Aladdin for the live action version and Will Smith got cast? There was a little pushback on that.
There was
a little pushback because Robin Williams is such an iconic individual in the entertainment industry and in life. But this original film, honestly, it has a special place in my heart. I remember watching it as a kid and just enjoying every second of it, and then hitting rewind on the VCR to make sure I could watch it again because you got to be kind and rewind, that's for sure. But yeah, I think this one has some of the best music, like we've been talking about, and this one I think will definitely be a staple in my future child's life. That
Oh,
is without a doubt, without a doubt. So yeah, number four for me, Aladdin.
yeah, they all have to be. They
Yeah, they
all
really
have to
do.
be. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. My number four, and I know is on your list too. The majority of these films now, as we move up, they're all going
It's
to be
hard, yeah.
basically the same films because they're all that good. My number four is Mulan. You guys
Mm.
know anything about me? You've been a fan of the show for a long time. You know I'm huge into the Asian culture and Japan and ancient Japan and all of what it stands for and what it represented. And so obviously Mulan, I was all in. I'm like, hell yes. It was beautiful. The animation, the artwork, the production design to pull off old Japan, ancient Japan, and the palaces and the feudal war that was going on in that era and that time, to just pull it off the way that they pulled it off was just stunning to me. Every time I watch that movie, I'm just in awe of the way it looks. And then, of course, the story is obviously outstanding. The acting is phenomenal. Everything about it worked. The soundtrack is fantastic. But for me, it was one of those visually appealing films that really just captured the essence of what that era and that part of the world stood for back then. And I loved it. I couldn't get enough of it. So my number four, Mulan.
Ah, such a good pick, which leads me into my number three, Mulan. Definitely, I also love the gender kind of swapping roles to where, even though I'm a woman, I can still do the same things as men do. I love that. And to, still fight for your family's honor because the last surviving man or the man of the house, I guess they were saying. I mean, it was her dad and he was old. And so,
Yeah.
she stood up for her family and stood up for what she believed in and went to serve her country in this crazy war, which I mean was that the character was kind of based on Attila the Hun, which
Yes.
is always a very interesting character as well, and always a very interesting historical figure to go back and do research on. But yeah, Mulan, the dragon. I mean, how can you not have Eddie Murphy as the
Yeah.
dragon in the
Yeah.
live action film? That was my biggest gripe with the live action Mulan, and not having any music in the live action
Yeah.
Mulan.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like that's what made this film so freaking great. But yeah, anyway, number three for me, Mulan as well.
There you go. And my number three, this is a no-brainer too. Brilliant freaking soundtrack, unbelievable. This is a story that has been told over and over and over and over in old black and white films, television shows, comic books, the original novels that it's all based on. Like it's been, and then feature films. It's been so told so many times. You're like, do we touch this? Do we even want to try? The answer was yes. We're gonna give it a whirl, and I'm talking about Tarzan. And wow, just wow. How they pulled Tarzan off. Like some of the most incredible things when he's like sliding on the vines and and just the whole relationship between him and the apes. Rosie O'Donnell, I was like, Rosie O'Donnell, but then it worked. And I'm just like, the whole thing worked for me. I was a huge fan of Tarzan to begin with. I've always been a fan of Tarzan. I'm not old enough to have been around for these, but I caught the reruns of them, the Johnny Weissmuller films. He for me was the definitive Tarzan. So I was like, how are they going to come at this? And then, of course, during my little time in the 70s, they had the animated cartoon with Tarzan. So I was going in with high expectations. Like, they got to hit. And then they did. They just killed it. And yet with its own very unique twist. Right? It was very much its own, even though it played on a story that we've seen over and over and over and over again. I just thought it was beautiful. I liked the relationship and how they built the back and forth between him and Jane and just everything about it. And I think the thing that makes it, though, and this is just my opinion, but the thing that really made it for me was Phil Collins. This is one of the exemplary soundtracks out of the Renaissance era that just really brought it home. Like, and there were some good soundtracks in these films. But for me, this is one of, I still, every time I hear any of these songs, I'm belting them out every time I hear them. It's like, it's that good. So, yeah, number 3 for me, Tarzan.
Leading into my number 2, which is also Tarzan. I think it's honestly, it's my favorite soundtrack of the entire Renaissance era. Maybe the best soundtrack of Disney films, animated films, in my opinion. Because Phil Collins just went hard, bro. He didn't have to go that hard, but it's, oh man. I also love how Disney does the thing where they loosely plant seeds to where like other stories might be tied into other stories, and maybe some people didn't know, and I hope I'm not getting this wrong, but I believe Tarzan was one of the first movies that they tried working out some CGI with the parents getting lost in the ocean. That whole ocean shit, yeah. I believe in the storm there's a little CGI and stuff, so you can tell the different animations. But yeah, Tarzan definitely, it was actually the first movie I ever saw in the movie theaters. Really? So of course it holds a special place in my heart. So yeah, number 2 for me as well, Tarzan.
There you go. Wow. And yeah. And you were hinting at, but for anybody who's not, that shipwrecked parent laid the seed work, and there's a lot of people that still think this is true and want to see this happen. Tarzan and the girls from Frozen are related.
Yep.
That's where they're trying to lay that stuff out. Maybe. I've seen a lot of theories that it makes total sense. So it really, I don't know. Oddly, it's weird that is not on either one of our lists, and I want to give it an honorable mention because it's the first animated film, and it's from the Renaissance era, that was ever nominated for Best Picture. Okay, it's Beauty and the Beast. But that wouldn't have happened if not for my number 2, which was the one out of the Renaissance film, the first one out of the Renaissance era that took it over to the top to the smash success that the Renaissance era was. And everything beyond this just became blockbuster banana, but just huge. And I'm talking about The Little Mermaid. That was the one that sent it over the top. Once The Little Mermaid hit, everybody was like, holy shit, this is the best ever. Disney is king again. Boom, everything. And obviously, because The Little Mermaid at that time, it was the biggest film that everybody was talking about it. Everybody was singing the songs. Everybody knew all the characters. It was literally everywhere. And I think, legitimately, Disney was like, shit, how are we going to follow this up? Like, because this thing is so huge and so beloved, if we don't fire right out of the gate after this one with another one, we're in big trouble. So, a lot of pressure was on it. But, and little known fact, if for anybody out there who's unaware of this, but I want everybody to be aware of this, The Little Mermaid, the real life visual model for Ariel, Alyssa Milano, during her time on Who's the Boss. That was the visual inspiration that the artists used to create Ariel. So who knew? But if you're my age, you knew Alyssa Milano was a massively huge person back then and influence, and I mean she was the it girl, and so it only makes sense that they would kind of fashion Ariel after her. Kind of like they did way back in the day with Tinkerbell with Marilyn Monroe. For anybody who doesn't know that, that's Tinkerbell's look in Disney with Marilyn Monroe. But it makes sense. And this was the first one that really kind of came out gangbusters with the soundtrack, right? Like, fuck, Little Mermaid, like every fucking song, man. It was just like slaying. People to this day still sing that shit. Like, I mean, it's just everywhere. So, yeah, my number 2, The Little Mermaid. It's Under the Sea. Come on. Oh, come on. Under the... So good. So good.
Great pick, man. Great freaking pick. Well, number 1 for both of us, I think, in my opinion, is still holds the crown and is still the king of the best animated film that has come out of Disney of all time.
Oh, without that.
Lion King. The Lion King. Oh my goodness. Not only is the soundtrack great, Elton John, Can You Feel the Love Tonight? But
Yes.
Hakuna Matata, like a great friends buddy comedy, redemption story, but of course it's Disney, so a parent has to die somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like it's one of the best films honestly of all time in my opinion. It's such a great, I believe they emulated or took a lot of inspiration from Hamlet. I think it
Yes.
was Hamlet.
Yep.
So yeah, of course it was going to be freaking good, but I think Lion King is definitely the film that all of these, it's like Superman. The Lion King that came out, the animated one, is the animated film that they're continuing to chase that success. They want it to be that level of purity and that level of success at the same time. But yeah, I love this film so freaking much, man. And this is a huge historic established IP that I think we still have more films to come in the near future.
This IP is the number one movie now, 2025, this past weekend. That shows you the longevity and staying power of what this film did for Disney. Now, there was a couple in between The Little Mermaid and The Lion King, but The Lion King was the massive success after that they were banking on. Like, how do we follow up? Lion King did it. Lion King was like, this is it, now we're here. So, kind of what I was talking about, teasing into this, Jeffrey Katzenberg worked at Paramount with Eisner, and Eisner brought him over when he became the CEO of Disney. And he made him chairman of Walt Disney Studios. And at this time, you guys, Walt Disney Studios was at the bottom of the barrel. They hadn't had a box office hit in forever, okay? And he was tasked with turning around the studio. He helped with Michael Eisner and Frank Wells create Touchstone Pictures so that Disney could start putting out R-rated films, not underneath the mouse banner. That started turning around Walt Disney Pictures. But then Eisner said, okay, we're doing great there, but animation is what built this house, and we need to fix that. So that became Katzenberg's driving force, was to fix the animation. When he started seeing success there with the Renaissance films, he basically told Eisner, hey, I want to be made president of the company. You're number 2. Push Frank Wells out, make him some sort of chairman emeritus, give him a BS title. And Eisner was no way. Eisner and Wells' relationship was like this. And he's like, not going to happen. I'm not going to hurt him like that. I'm not going to do that to him. And then Frank died in a crash. And Katzenberg just assumed that was a given. He was going to be named president and COO. Eisner took on the responsibility himself, made himself chairman and president. Well, Katzenberg was not fucking happy about that. And the reason that happened, y'all, is because Roy E. Disney at that time and Eisner felt like Katzenberg was trying to take too much credit for the turnaround of Disney. And they did not like that. And so basically when Katzenberg was told, you're not going to be president, he left. And you know what he did? He approached David Geffen and Steven Spielberg, and the birth of DreamWorks happened. DreamWorks SKG, as it was known back then, Spielberg, Katzenberg, Geffen. So my point is with this is if the Renaissance era of Disney never happens and the massive success of those animated movies never happen, Katzenberg never leaves to form DreamWorks with the other two. You don't have Shrek. You don't have, think about the Wild Robot and Wallace and Gromit, like I said, but think about all the other movies that have success. How to Train Your Dragon. Think about all of the massive Puss in Boots, everything that has come out of DreamWorks. None of that exists without the Renaissance era of Disney films and animation. So there you go, how critically important it is. And then, of course, it's shifted so many times now. DreamWorks broke up. DreamWorks Pictures is now a subsidiary of its own thing, but distributes through Universal. And Universal owns DreamWorks Animation now. And, of course, we know that Katzenberg went on to try to do, what was that little thing that he tried to launch.
Quibi.
Yeah. That didn't go so well or whatever. But anyway, my point being is that this era of Disney and this man, Jeffrey Katzenberg, critically vital to what we see animation as now. And there you go. So if you don't think what you do matters and how it can play well into the future 35, 40 years later, that story should tell you everything.
Yeah, completely agree, man. There's your history lesson for the week right there from the mouth himself. Oh my goodness, that's freaking awesome. But yeah, that is our top 5 Disney Renaissance age films. Please be sure to comment below. Let us know what your favorites are, because there's so many out there. So there's some other ones that we did not put on the list, and it was hard not to. I will say that. It was definitely hard not to. Now we're heading over to the box office recap, and like you teased a little bit earlier, Mufasa the Lion King did come in at number 1 with $15.4 million. Man, oh man, what was that? Den of Thieves did not last long, did it?
No.
Man, it dropped out of the top 5 real quick. The second most valuable film over the past weekend at the box office was One of Them Days. That's that Keke Palmer film that actually did very well and is going to see some profitability this weekend because of how successful it was. I think the budget was $15 million, and they're about to recoup that. Wolfman came in at number 3. Blumhouse's resurgence to the horror monster franchise that came in at $12.2 million. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 came in at $11 million, still in theaters, and they just announced Sonic the Hedgehog 4. So you can see that this film and this franchise it's got longevity, and it's got some super speed, that's for sure. It's got some super speed. And then the 5th one was Moana 2 with $7.7 million. New movies that are coming out this week are Flight Risk. That's it. Just Flight Risk.
That's it.
Some select movies in select theaters near you, potentially. But actually, after this recording, we're going to go check out Flight Risk. So I'm super excited about it.
Same. I'm seeing it this weekend, too. Somehow this escaped me because I know we've talked about it in the past, but I forgot all about that. This is directed by Mel Gibson.
It is, yeah.
So
I almost brought that up in our phone conversation the other day. That's funny.
So if you like Mark Wahlberg and you don't have anything against Mel Gibson, which these days a lot of people do, but it looks like it could be a pretty entertaining film.
That's for sure, man. That's for sure. And movies you can still go see right now in select theaters, of course, near you: Den of Thieves 2, A Complete Unknown, Nosferatu, Wicked, and Baby Girl.
Yes.
And then, of course, we're heading over to the IMDb Pro's top trending segment to round out this episode of ITCAFpodcast. The top trending movie is still Nosferatu. It's just so out there, so different, and it's refreshing, honestly. But a lot of layman's people that I talked to actually did not like it, but I get it. It's a cinematic film for filmmakers, I feel like, that possibly won't reach that widespread audience. So that kind of makes sense. The top trending television show is Landman. Billy Bob Thornton killing it. And the top trending star, of course, we predicted this last week after the passing of the legendary filmmaker David Lynch. David Lynch is the top trending star this week, which is always so sad.
Yeah. Still a hard one to take, man. But man, what a show, dude! Like I love. It's been a while since we've had some decent industry news to talk about. The industry's just kind of been slow lately, but man, when it hit. It came out gangbusters. Like let's just throw a bunch of stuff at you. So, yeah, dude, I love it, and I can't wait for the Oscar ceremony. It's gonna be really interesting to see how they do things. I know they're planning big tributes for the first responders, and they're gonna talk a lot about the fires. That's clearly played a heavy role in the changes in the ceremony this year. So, going to be interesting to see. And I did see, remember how they would bring out the 5 previous winners? Like the legend, they're doing that again this time around.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah, I did too. I thought that was really cool. I think that went over well with the audience. And so, they're bringing that back this year too, which cool. And then, of course, suits and just like Superman and everything going on at Disney, and will Star Wars resurge? Will it not? Dude, it was packed, man. I love this show.
Yeah, it was freaking fantastic. That is for sure. Freaking the ever evolving entertainment industry. And we're
Always.
here to keep you up to date here at Inside the Crazy Ant Farm, ITCAF Podcast, all the good things. That's why we have to say thank you. Without you, we wouldn't be doing this. I mean, we'd be talking about entertainment news, of course, but without our audience and without our built in family, our built in ant farm, we wouldn't be able to be as successful as we are. So we want to thank you out there and continuing to share, like, follow all the good things. And those platforms and handles that you can follow us at are at ITCAF Podcast for this podcast, Crazy Ant Media for our company flagship pages, and then, of course, our mental health podcast, Everything's OKP. And then, of course, you can follow us both personally on social media. Myself, I am at J Logan Austin, and
I am at Crazy Ant CEO.
that's right, man. That's right. And you guys know you can subscribe to this podcast anywhere you listen to your podcast. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Stitcher, so much more. We're anywhere and everywhere, man, you find your podcast. That's for sure. And then, of course, be sure to visit our website, www.crazyantmedia.com, where you can start rocking the latest and greatest Crazy Ant Media gear right here, right now. We got a little something for a little bit of everyone.
Yes.
That is for sure. A great cherry on top to a beautiful week, so we can say that we're thankful for all of you out there. We're thankful for life. We're thankful for positivity. And we're also thankful for the one, the only Oprah!